What's up? I'm Wes, and that's Brady, and today we're going to replace the engine in Slappy McPiston over here.
What you're about to see is 8% Miata swap and 92% us just amusing ourselves.
Alright, so tell me what's going on with Slappy McMiata there.
Wow, that is close. So 7 months ago I was driving home from work and I heard a tick noise and I thought, oh, sounds like low oil tick, but go ahead and get the oil changed, see what they come up with. Got the oil changed, no fix. Okay, so I order a timing chain tensioner. Put the timing chain tensioner in, no fix. Alright, maybe it's the VVT gear. Replace the VVT gear, no fix. So finally deemed it a wrist pin and said screw it, we're going to upgrade, put a bigger engine in it, and that's how the 2.5 project came about.
This is a 2.5 liter from a 2014 Ford Fusion. It should give us about 10% more horsepower and a lot more torques.
So you're probably wondering, what does a slapping wrist pin sound like in a 2006 NC Miata? I'll show you.
How does anyone open these?
Secret code. They have a secret code.
I'm gay.
Swapping an engine is a long process, so we're going to remove the hood for easier access to the motor and all of its components. In order to remove the 2 liter from the Mazda, we're going to have to pull all the harnesses and accessories off the engine.
You can't see him, but Brady's right over there.
Hey!
With a jacking. We've gotten as much as we can off the top. We've gotten most of the harness off. Brady's gotten underneath, taken off the underbelly pan, and now we're going to jack it up, put it on jack stands.
With all the accessories off the engine, it's time to focus on the driveline. We start by removing the power plant frame, followed by the drive shaft.
Very serious operation. Brady's about to poop himself.
Right.
Plop.
Satisfied.
He is unbolting the drive shaft so that he doesn't have to drop it from
The tail shaft.
this end of the transmission.
And lose my fluid.
So he doesn't lose all of his high dollar fancy royal purple fluid.
Royal Purple's ass, it's Ford.
Ford.
Yeah. I can't remember what the specific number is, but it's Ford's transmission fluid, and it makes Mazda shift like butter. What are you doing? Wayne's World Extreme Zoom Cam?
Hang on.
Don't be stupid. We've all heard stories of cars who have run over people who were working underneath of them. That can happen anytime you release pressure off your driveline. So, before disconnecting the differential or any other component of the driveline, make 100% sure that your wheels are chalked.
There we go.
There we go.
I got it. I did it.
You did got it. You got it with your knickers on.
Now that the drive shaft's disconnected, it's time to take out the transmission.
So I can't even see the nut I'm taking out. It's got about 4 feet of extension. I think I got it.
How many you got out so far?
I don't know. Stop counting. Oh. It's the bastard right there.
Let's see that extension bar.
It's like the Spaceball ship. keeps going and going and going.
Radar about to be jammed.
What you doing now, Wes?
Taking off the slave cylinder.
That's racist.
So that we can get the transmission free. So now there he is, he's just hanging out.
What you doing, Wes?
I'm hugging a transmission.
Uh-huh, I see that. Final disconnects.
Yeah, I need the
Release tool.
the release tool for the plastic pieces.
Okay.
Come here. Hey guys, how are you? Yeah, I'm just hanging out under a Miata. It's totally hetero.
There you go. See it?
Yeah, but it's got to spin the other way. Keep going, right there. That's the way it's meant to go in. You slide it underneath, and you pull it up, and it come right out. Look at that. Bring it on back. Check it, check, check, check. Check, check, check.
Engine's pretty loose. Yeah. Free.
And just like that,
Awesome.
the transmission is free.
Oh.
There she is. Here she comes. We just...
Probably gonna hit the bell housing on the header.
That's fine, stop.
Okay.
Yeah!
Now that the transmission and motor mounts are disconnected, it's time to get this old busted motor out of this old busted Miata.
How do you feel?
It's out.
Ain't no engine in here.
All right, so last night we got the 1.8 liter.
Well, no, start over.
Okay, so last night we got the 2 liter out of the Miata. Mosquito.
Retarded.
You're not supposed to say that anymore.
Special.
Last night we got the 2 liter out of the Mazda. Took us about 5 or 6 hours combined. Had to take out the drive shaft, remove the transmission, jack it up, unwedge it. It wedged itself in the engine bay several times.
Takes quite a steep angle.
It actually wasn't hard work. It was just a process, really.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the 2 liter. It doesn't weigh that much. I feel like we could pick this one up too. But so what we're going to do is remove the clutch so we can get it on an engine stand, and then we will start removing parts to swap it over to the new 2.5 liter block.
Not bad. Factory Miata clutch, 110,000 miles, still pretty good shape. Sorry. It's not gonna be that heavy, but it'll be ready.
Yep.
It may be kind of seized on too. Who knows? Nope. Cool.
Whee! Hey, the bunghole.
Pilot hole.
Some Miata of a bunghole. That's what all the jokes are about. Right there. I
can't turn it off because I'm wearing gloves. I can't hit the button.
Where is it?
It's the red.
Now that we got the clutch off, we're going to put the old engine on the engine stand. So we're going to start taking stuff off and putting it on the other engine. Here is a fun thing that I learned way back in a past life. The easiest way to get an engine on an engine stand is not to lower it to the stand and try to wrangle it in. It's to actually remove the cradle from the engine stand and bolt it to the engine. Sounds dumb, but it took me about 45 minutes when I was 18 to figure that out.
So you pull the pin from the cradle, get it up out of the way. You grab the stand, you lift the stand, you insert the stand on the engine and let it hang. Then you take the pin, you put it in the hole. Nope.
Which way?
Keep going. Keep going. There you go. So now it's locked in place. And now you have a stand with an engine on it. You let down gently, gently. Very good, number 2. So gently. You go so gently. You just really have to be careful with it. It's like a little baby. Like a little Mazda baby. And you gently rock it down. And you slowly remove tension from your boom arm. And you let the chain go limp. You gotta have a limp chain. That's the secret here, limp chain. And once you feel that the chain is limp, you can remove the apparatus.
Through the magic of video, no time has passed since the last time we met, but I contracted a cold, so deal with it.
And my hair is about 2 inches longer.
Ooh.
But
Show them your moves.
we got 2 engines, mostly stripped down. Now it's time to start taking stuff off the old engine and putting it on the new engine. And yeah.
Let's do it. I'm excited. I've got to take my intake off and put it onto this motor, but this motor has larger intake ports on the head. So I've got to file or grind these ports, the outlet of this intake, to match that. And I've got to do that by way... Stop. No, don't quit it. I've got to do that by way of port matching with an intake gasket. I don't know if I've got one yet, but I'm going to start taking this off and see what the difference is. If you look in there, the bottom and the sides are the same size, but I've got about an 1/8 inch lip on the top. I can go up around
Yeah,
I
there.
can see it there. When I finger your port, I can put it in the hole there and I can reach down, feel the ribs.
See if you can get 2 fingers in there.
I don't know.
Alright, we should be safe. Yeah. Seems like I've taken this thing off a million times.
I'm trying to do this with my worst Australian accent.
Ooh, go for it.
Hey Bradford.
Oi.
Hey, isn't it weird how nowadays like there's no defined oil pan? Like in old days there used to be a pan on the bottom and you could clearly see where the pan starts and the block stops, but now it's not that way. Now it's just sort of like one anamorphous bulbous piece and they just fit together. Isn't that weird?
I almost feel like I was there.
Where?
Australia. That is weird. That is so weird.
Oh, now for the showing. Yeah, and you see the engineering where it used to be a pan, but now it's like a bulbous bouffant of bubbles. And what are you doing there, Bradford?
Trying to separate it.
It's separating.
Ooh.
Oh, it's separating.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's so exciting. sprockets.
Look at the tubes. The tubes. Did you see the tubes?
The tubular sprockets and the oil galleys
We like to dance.
and the piston arm
Don't you call that a pea stain?
and
Yeah.
hold it up for the camera. So Bradford just took this oil pan off and we were looking inside and down in the channels.
That is a lot of metal shavings.
And
that may have been a wrist pin.
there's some metal shavings. I think we found out what happened to your old motor.
Mm-hmm.
Look, your finger looks like the
Tin Man.
a gay disco.
Kind of. It is oily.
I've been glittery. Why is a gay disco oily?
I don't know. Why is it gay disco oily? Yeah, we're going to take it apart.
But look down there and all the lube, all the glitter in the lube down there. It's pretty
gay.
Pretty gay. So we got the top off and found some more little
Shavings?
Miata boogers down here.
Yeah, that's not good.
This is what happens to your motor.
Precious.
I'm pretty sure that's coming from the wrist pin of the pistons. That's what happens when you get a crappy tune on the internet. You get pre-detonation and then destroy your motor.
Yeah. This gear drives 19 pounds of counterbalance weight. That was designed to help minimize, what was it called? NVM, noise, vibration, and noise harmonics. I don't know, NVH, noise, vibration, and harmonics, that's it. And so this is balanced opposite the vibration of the crankshaft. They've determined that this engine will not destroy itself. You can remove the counterbalance, and they made a counterbalance delete kit which blocks the oil plug and pretty shiny puppy, which nobody will ever see.
Here's the unit that drove. See right here, it's this balance. Basically kind of like a harmonic balancer, but it goes inside the engine. And it's pretty heavy. Probably weighs every bit of 20 pounds. And that gear just would spin that one, and it would spin. You kind of see that
They are weighted.
they rotate opposite directions. So you see the wheels at the end, they spin towards each other and then away from each other. It's kind of strange.
We continue moving parts from one engine to the other. I swear this seems like 50% of the entire job. It seems like it's taking forever, but in the end, it has to be done, so we carry on.
Smells like gasoline. Because the 2.5 fuel rail has an inlet on the end, and my Miata's fuel rail has an inlet on the front, I'm going to switch these out.
That seems like it might take a while.
Yeah, if only somebody could find the 8mm ratchet socket.
What happened to it?
Somebody lost it. I never know where to look at it. I keep looking at the microphone. Somebody lost it.
Is it like in here someplace?
No, I don't think so.
What did you put on with it last?
Motherfucker.
I found it. Look.
Thanks.
Look what I found. It's right there the whole time.
Oh, what were the magic words? What'd you put on last? Don't put it back here. It's gross. Oh, what did I put on last?
There it is.
There it is. Can I have it now? Can I actually use it?
Cone of shame.
Yes.
The cone of shame.
I hope you got your lens dirty. Oh, that is so much faster.
You gotta get this guy off here to put over here, but in order to do that, we have to take the valve cover off so that we can lock the camshafts in the back. Pay no attention to the large chunk taken out of that one.
That was a learning experience.
We have no idea how that happened. But where's your bar? Show me your bar. Ooh, see, that's a bar.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into the channels. Well, a channel.
You just straighten it out for me. I'll show you.
Let's see back here that there's ridges, or grooves rather.
Where's the breaker bar now?
There's clips in there, so it can't turn, as you might tell. That
We turned it a
may or
little
may
bit.
not work. But so now that holds this assembly straight, and it holds the chain in place, so that we can get the harmonic balance pulley off there. So we just tried.
Wes wasn't holding it well enough.
What?
I told you hold that.
Yeah, you told me to hold this. It's 10 inches long,
Uh-huh.
and you had a 2-foot long cheater bar. So remember when I told you the back of the cam broke off?
Yeah, we
Well,
broke the other
we
side.
finished it off, but not only did we do that, this is lodged in there.
Oh, I can get that out.
Oh look, you broke the other side of this one too.
God damn it. Can you get it out? Think you can hammer that flat, or do I need to get another kit?
Well, I don't think this is gonna work. Yeah, it looks like a banana.
Aww.
Banana bar.
Banana bar. It'll match my truck.
I'll just drop that down there in the engine. And
Well,
plan 2.
I'm gonna get a Miata crank pulley. Crank pulley?
We can get that off there.
How? Oh, I guess we can now, because fuck it. No, leave it in there.
You can't leave it in there.
Yes, I can.
You want it to,
Lock against the head.
well, you don't want to destroy the head. That's still a good head.
Is it?
Yeah. It's
Well,
just the
metal
cam's
shavings came
broken.
from somewhere.
They didn't come from the valves.
What am I? I'm gonna trash this engine.
You hear it screaming?
Oh God!
This isn't my fault, Brady.
Why are you forsaking me? All right, what do you think? We're gonna work?
I don't know.
I'm gonna get my head down.
Someone
Here.
just pulled in.
Yeah. Oh, that's poor Sabrina. What's it look like? What's happening?
Are you farting?
No. I'm not getting any resistance though. I think bad things are happening. Let's put it this way.
Maybe tighten it up.
You do the tighten up. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of resistance. What's happening?
Well, it's not turning, so you're either stretching the chain.
Yeah, I think I'm doing bad things.
Alright, so I got stubby on the camshaft. I got the Allen wrench shoved through the hole of one of the cam gears
Exhaust gear.
that's pushing against the block. So put you up here.
Post concussion. Ready?
Yeah. You can do it.
Okay.
So part of the problem with this 2.5 going into Miata is that the block is about a ½ inch taller, and this timing cover here has these mounts for a motor mount, I believe, in the Ford Fusion. So with this here, we're missing a pulley here that is actually located down here now because that's where the Miata has it. But this has to come down at an angle, and you can see right here, it's actually hitting. And so what we have to do is go in here with a grinder and take, at the deepest point, it's about 3/4 of an inch material this way, and about that far in to clear it all out to get this belt to spin free. So we're gonna attempt that and see what happens. Test fit it. I don't want to take too much off, so test fit that and see what happens. Our little grind right there. So basically, what you want to do is you want to stay on the same plane or parallel with this angle here. Brady's going to throw the belt on there and we'll see if it clears it. It goes down and under this pulley. That pulley, and when you pull tight, it still needs more taken off, but it's definitely going in the right direction. So we fit the belt on for like the 5th time. You can see right in there, that's the part you have to machine, and we have, it's probably 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch gap. Looks pretty good. I don't think it's gonna flex. I mean, I can push it over there, but any luck, I don't think it's going to hit it. So we've cleared that hurdle. And now we get to take the whole thing apart and clean the metal chips out of it. What are we doing?
Getting ready to put some RTV sealant on this oil pan, and then we're going to put it on this block. Hopefully.
Huh.
Yeah, should be an adventure. I've got to find the bolts. They're around here somewhere. Yeah, and I gotta get some torque specs. So,
Where do you get those?
Google.
The Google store?
At the Google. Yeah.
How much those cost?
I have no clever answer for that. Here we go. This is mind-numbing. Oh, I'm getting a cramp. I'm getting a cramp.
What's that piece?
I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah. It goes somewhere. Should have taken more pictures. I got a few pieces. I'm not sure where they go. Alright, so it's just like a puzzle. You just have to line up the corners and the edges and...
Oh, do the border first.
Yes. Alright.
Where's the...
What's the border?
This is part of the unicorn's horn.
Yeah, okay.
And here is... Fomoco!
Fomoco.
That's my DJ name.
Fomoco?
Yep.
I like it.
DJ Fomoco.
Fomoco indeed. Seems like this went in there. Held that in place. That seems right. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's... Sure. Well...
Now you may ask why Brady is glowing behind me. I mean, look at him. He's positively radiant. It's because the motor is mostly assembled. There's a bunch of stuff that goes back on after it gets in the car, but as far as swapping everything on the outside, everything is on it. So now we're going to try to get it on the hoist
and get something semi-level over there in the engine bay so that we can continue.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Keep firing, assholes!
All right, so now there's an engine in the car. We got the motor mounts in. We got the engine sitting where it should be. What we have left to do is put the valve cover on, time it, get the transmission on, refill it with fluids,
Exhaust.
put the exhaust on, do the interior bits here where we had to rip it out to get the transmission out, and a myriad of other things. What are you doing now, Brady?
I'm pulling the spark plugs out so I can remove compression so that I can turn the engine freely. What I have to do is I have to retime this thing using a blind hole plug that goes in the side of the block. When I do that, then I rotate the assembly around until the crankshaft counterweight hits on the blind hole plug. I know that everything's at top dead center. I can reassemble the harmonic balancer. You ever notice on some of the other car shows the hosts have perfect hair and clean clothes? Not here.
So what kind of shaft?
Crankshaft.
And what kind of hole?
Blind hole.
The what?
Blind hole. You're a 14-year-old.
So we're gonna do that. Hang on, hold still, hold still. I'm picking your nose. I'm picking your nose. Picking your nose with the hook. I'm picking your nose with the hook. Sorry.
We start the timing process by rotating the cams to the top dead center position
That is
and
correct.
inserting the tool at the back of the camshafts. Right here.
You got issues.
Next, we rotate the camshaft.
Crankshaft.
Next, we rotate the camshaft.
Crankshaft.
Next, we rotate the crankshaft to the proper position and insert the blind hole plug. The blind hole plug will now prevent the crankshaft from turning once it is in the proper position.
It was in the proper position. How awesome is that?
Now you can remove the bolt from the crankshaft, input on the harmonic balancer, and tighten it down.
Somehow I have to remove the bolt from the crank without spinning the crank backwards and taking it out of time.
Oh no! This is very complicated stuff.
See?
Hey, you ever watch those hot rod shows on TV? And they do the establishing shots where they show the entire shop.
Uh-huh. Let's
and
not do that.
Everything that's in it, but they point up at the ceiling, and there's these giant devices for moving lots of air.
Compressors?
No, like hanging from the ceilings in the shop.
Heaters?
No, they move air, like at
Fans.
high speed, but high
Fans.
volume, but low speed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those are kind of neat. I wish we could get one of those.
Where
Right.
would we get one?
I'm not sure where we might find anything like that. Oh, interesting. I just wanted to know if you'd seen them before.
I think I have. They're pretty big.
Yeah, and bet they move an ass load of air.
A big ass load.
That's just a harmonic balancer. There's a bolt that goes in there.
All right, so we're talking to 73 foot-pounds.
So what he's doing is he's tightening. Wow, that seems a lot easier than last time.
Well, oh wait,
Are we sure we're on the right?
pretty sure.
So he's tightening the bolt that holds a harmonic balancer onto the pulley, which also holds the gear that times the cams to the crankshaft just by compression. Sort of a strange design. There's no key to hold it.
Okay, and a quarter turn.
It's
it's important to note that our engine does not have a transmission on it right now. And that allowed us to rock the engine back far enough to clear the sway bar here. Because if the engine were actually in the right location, this bar would be in the way. So it's a lot easier to do this while you have the transmission off.
And now we do a quarter turn for the final rotation.
Oh, that's why we need the breaker bar.
Yeah.
That's just the handle off the Harbor Freight jack, and I'm going to exit the frame because I'm going to stand over here.
So there's an eighth of a turn. I'm going to rotate around to this side and pull him up to a quarter, eighth of a turn here. Ready?
Please don't break. Please don't break.
Okay.
So this is where the quality of your timing comes into play. When we were timing that engine right over there, we'll actually just walk over here and see the carnage. You can actually see that right here, the back of the camshaft is actually broken off. And that is because the bolt that was holding the crank over there wasn't stopping everything properly. And it just snapped, and you can see the carnage here. That you can actually see the crack right there. Oh, there goes a piece. That's an actual piece of the camshaft.
Still separating, huh?
I guess the kit we used today cost a little bit more, but was a lot beefier, and everything stayed in place and nothing broke. Okay, so she's timed. We can start putting things back together.
Hooray!
Suck it in.
Oh, yeah. So we've been nothing but working out and working on cars.
Yeah, heavy cars. And lift them up, flipping them over and stuff.
Not only heavy, but they're getting extra parts here. That's not mine.
So last time you saw us,
Last year.
it was last year.
Yeah.
We put an engine in. We just dropped it in, and since then it got cold, and it's cold out here, and we didn't do anything. So it is now January 178th or April 21st, and it's really one of the first really warm days we've had in almost 6 months.
Well, except for that February.
Yeah, but we were doing other things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're back working on this engine swap in the MX-5.
We spent some time last night looking for parts that have been sitting around for 3 months, 4 months.
And they've gotten kicked around, and they were under leaves and under other parts that have accumulated over the last 6
Always
months.
bag your parts.
And label them.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
It's important.
But so last night we got under it. We put the transmission back in it. There's still a bunch of driveline parts that need to go, the shaft and the balls and
Exhaust.
the bearings.
Yeah.
Muffler bearings and shaft. Anyway, so it's been 6 months, but we're back at it. Kind of heavy.
I know, I'm trying to hurry. That's not gonna do it. That's not gonna do it.
Alright, so we got the drive shaft in underneath the car, and next is this guy. This is a power plant frame, often known as a PPF. I've only ever seen Miatas have them, but I'm sure some other things have them. And basically this just connects the back of the transmission to the front of the differential, gives it some rigidity, helps the driveline from actually separating. It basically holds the driveline together. But we're gonna go ahead and get this in.
Okay. It must be way off back here. Okay, I got one on. There's two.
Bolt the back up.
Yeah. Really should have.
So
I think I want to get the
Keep
PPF
going.
up just a little more and then drop the engine.
it's. I think it's gonna go in. Put your nuts on.
We gotta. We need to read up on how to set this again. It's a certain height under the frame.
Well, we just tighten them to where they were before.
I don't know where the marks are. Oh, wait, we did make marks. Yes?
Ow, good God.
That was loud. Did you get all that?
Oh God, my neck.
I know, it hurts after a while. Is the collector still in
You
place?
should have like head tripods. Where you just like...
I think they're just called body cams, aren't they? Are you just reinventing the wheel?
No, I meant tripod for your head, not for a camera. Not a tripod that you put on your head for your camera. Tripod to hold your head.
Oh, that's a pillow.
Yes. Someone should invent pillows.
They should make pillows. You really are underselling yourself. You should probably talk to more people about your ideas.
Alright, tighten up the header and then we'll finish this up. Why are you taking bolts out?
Because we didn't put the oil filter assembly on housing.
Seems like we should have done that before we put the engine in.
No, there was no way I was going in with that on. It just seems like something that I wish didn't have to go on. Eighth of a turn at a time. All right. Okay. We're just going to get a little preliminary wipe of the oil here so this will seat better. Also make sure that we've got any dust or debris off of it because it's been sitting around for, how long was it? 6 months?
Long time.
Been a long time.
Should have left you.
There you go.
Beat the rock too.
Let's go down here.
What are you doing?
Putting the clutch slave cylinder in place. I've already poked the, well, I can do it again. There's the clutch slave shaft. It goes into the fork. So you line that up in place, get it pushed in, and then Mazdas make it pretty easy. You just slide the slave cylinder in place here. And you try forever to get the top bolt lined up, which I'm missing apparently. What are you doing? Stop looking at my...
What is that?
While I was working on the headers, Brady was underneath putting on some of the, what are those called? The cross braces to go. I guess it's just cross braces.
Cross braces.
Yeah, it's got a ton of braces that go from left to right of the car. Underneath, I mean, it's all just fiddly stuff that we don't really need to show you. It's just you take it off, put it back on. There's no modification or anything to it, but it's not going to be too long before we start putting in the computer, the battery, and putting on the valve cover and wiring up the injectors and plugs. All right, so we're writing down things. What? What?
Just sounds like such a new development. Things that nobody has ever done before.
All right,
We are going to try writing things down.
we're gonna write some stuff down so that we don't forget it, because we're old and forgetful, and we don't want to get out on the road and have
Cling, clang, cling.
clanking and things falling off the car. So what's the first thing we got to remember?
Drive shaft.
Drive shaft bolts.
Yeah, rear drive shaft bolts.
Drive shaft bolts.
Also, water pump pulley bolts. Oh, you fancy.
What else?
That's all I got.
So we just have to remember those two things?
Right now,
All right.
that list is going to grow.
All right, let's get this car together.
All right. What do we got going on, Wes?
There's an engine. It's in the car.
And it's mounted.
Yeah. So basically we've got all the accessories on. We've got the power steering pump, the alternator.
buttoned up the top. Basically, anything that bolts to the engine is now bolted to the engine. The only thing we have left to do is the engine wiring harness, and then find out there's a few open things where hoses go that we're not exactly sure what they are, because
tubes, cooling.
a lot of stuff that we unhooked almost a year ago, and now we're paying the price because we don't know where any of it is. So we're going to drop the harness on here and just start plugging in things that look like they go in holes, and where the hole plug is, and hopefully it'll run at some point. I have to go all the way to the back of the Miata, dig around in the trunk of lost souls. I gotta drop these parts. We decided to start at the computer when hooking up the harness. Oh! Just gotta dig around all these loose parts. Computer. I've got to get. It's my computer.
Well, get the brass fitting too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Computer shield. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Seems like there should be another part. Is there a top part of that?
A top computer for the defibrillator.
Seems like there should be a bottom plate.
For the crusty.
Yeah. The crustinator.
Crostinator?
Yeah. I don't think this just laid down like that. Did it?
That doesn't go on the bottom?
No, this goes on top because you got the hose that goes through it.
So you're saying there's another part that goes under the computer?
I might be saying there's another part that goes under the computer. Is there another plate? Maybe there's not. Maybe it just goes like this. That looks really clean.
Looks like there's maybe another part that goes under there.
Yeah, that's what
See what we can find. And that doesn't go. What is that? That looks like it's probably for the battery. It's an air box. That's definitely the top battery cover. That is an engine cover. Nope, nothing back here, Chief.
Okay.
No, sir. I'm getting caught on hangers. You may remember these hangers from the Mustang episode. They're still there. It's the
Green.
hanger I hung fenders and stuff from. I think there's something good. Did you fart?
Yes.
Good God.
Hey,
It's gross.
I love the smell.
What you got there?
Wiring harness. This is a wiring harness off a 2014 Ford Fusion that we're going to use on the 2006 Mazda Miata. It's supposed to be a direct swap, although I just realized the routing is going to be a little different. I was relying on everything just falling into place, kind of like the old wiring harness from muscle memory. That may not work, so we're going to have to do some guesswork here. We're going to start with the ECU and then work our way back.
Alright, so we got most of the wiring harness on. Now, you saw one of the mods we made earlier to the timing cover. That's really one of two mods that's required. It's not really a whole lot of modification to get this engine in here. The next mod is there's some kind of cam sensor up front. Do you know what it is?
That is the variable timing oil pressure sender.
So some kind of variable timing oil pressure sender thing. When we use the Mazda harness with the Ford solenoid, we just have to change out the plug on the end. So we got our soldering iron here. We're just going to solder it on.
All right, so we're going blue to green and then white with red to red and black. And the only reason I did it that way was because the left wire going into the top of the sensor goes into the left wire going into the top of the other harness. So I'm just matching lefts and rights. I have no reason to believe that Ford and Mazda would do something completely different. How about you?
Nope.
When's the last time you soldered something, Wes?
I don't know. A couple months ago. This is what's known as a lineman's joint. I don't know if it's joint, not something. Basically, instead of grabbing the wires and twisting them together in sort of the normal fashion that you would, you basically wrap them around each other longitudinally. And notice this is a proper soldering iron. We're not using the large soldering gun style iron, which is actually for plumbing. If you try to use that on something like this, it might work, but you're gonna burn through the wire. It's gonna cause a mess. Those things are like 300 watts, and I think right now on this one I'm using, I don't know, like 33 watts. So basically you just want to heat up the wire until it starts taking the solder. Then let the heat do the work. So while we're doing that, while that one's cooling, we'll try not to burn ourselves and go ahead and line up. So basically what I'm doing is I'm touching them length as far back as the insulation goes, and then I'll twist them around each other. Instead of twisting them like that, you're basically twisting them end to end, lengthwise. And if everything's right, you get something like that. And that makes a much stronger bond once you get the solder on it. Soldering is one of those things that the only way to get good at it is with practice. And that's as easy as it is to swap that plug over. Now we've got some heat shrink on here that we put on here earlier. We'll slide that over our connection like that. Do the same thing. We'll also probably put some electrical tape over the heat shrink as well, just for safety's sake.
Did we make sure that's the right plug for the solenoid?
Do what? This is the magic of shrink tube. Basically, you just apply a little heat to it and see the difference in size. Wrap it up. It's covered those connections. We'll put a little more black tape around it, and those should be good.
We've got enough stuff hooked up on this car that we feel that
80% confident.
80% confident that it's going to start up. So Brady has just added a bunch of fluids. We don't have everything hooked up. The air conditioning's not hooked up, and we didn't put radiator juice, radiator fluid in it. What's it called? Coolant! That's the word I'm looking for.
The sweet nectar of the gods, the radiator juice.
We didn't put that in it because if anything goes wrong with it, we're going to have to just pour it all right back out. And it's not going to hurt the car to run for about 30 seconds without it, if it does indeed decide to start. So, we've got enough stuff hooked up. Everything underneath is buttoned up. All that's really left to do from here is put on a few braces underneath and a few hose clamps that we need to tighten underneath the hood, and then put all the coolant in the coolant system. Other than that, everything else is done. So we're gonna give her the old college try and see if she'll start.
Fingers crossed.
So before we start cranking it over, we're gonna disconnect the coil packs, and we're going to try to turn it over a little bit to get some oil to flow through. I guess the first big win is going to be whether or not it actually cranks.
First time the battery's been on here in almost a year.
Oh, we're hooking up the battery. Hooking it up.
We need a little hooky thing. I
Spec-
should probably actually use a real.
I'll just slide it on there. It'll be fine.
I was going to just give us a pop.
Well, nothing's on fire yet,
That's a good sign.
and the battery hasn't arced to the terminal, making it impossible to come off while the whole thing explodes into flames. See that engine? Don't pay attention to that engine. That's for another video. Let's see what happens. I don't hear any buzzers.
Well,
Well, we at least have the power hooked back up correctly. All right, well, that's win number one. At least it cranks.
And it sounds like it has some brushing.
And nothing clinked together, so it might even be in time.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's the moment of truth. Hold on.
My stomach's in knots. Come on. You ready?
So it didn't start. After a few seconds of reflection, we realized that one of the things we forgot to hook up was the crank position sensor. Not only did we forget to hook it up, we forgot to put it on the car at all. So, with any luck, these things sort of slide around, so we don't really know if it's on there the way it's supposed to be, but we're going to try to crank it.
Yeah, apparently you can get a couple degrees of time out of that, but at least maybe we'll get sparks this time. Yeah. Oh man, it sounds good. Wow. Are you driving out tonight?
Yeah, we're going to.
Huh, I'm gonna drive it out tonight. All right. Well, we got it nice and hot. We still have a clamp to get in.
Gotta tighten up. Here's our list. We still have two
Drive shaft bolts.
drive shaft bolts, a few hose clamps. We have to zip tie down some loom. Power booster clamp.
That's all
Nope. No, it's not.
This?
Yeah, right there.
Oh.
That one.
Yeah.
And AC lines and stuff. We're not going to recharge the lines tonight, but we already put the shifter stuff inside, so we can mark that off. So we're gonna start buttoning it up, and we're gonna let it down and back it out of here.
Wow.
All right, so we got everything on our list done over there. Everything underneath is buttoned up. We're gonna start up, let the cooling get the temperature so the thermostat will open up and finish cooling up to check for any other leaks. But after that, the only other thing left to do is put on the hood. So he's gonna go ahead and start it up. Hopefully he'll start a second time. So a little bit of information that may be valuable if you're thinking about doing the swap yourself. We use the 2.5 liter motor out of the Ford Fusion, but we use the harness for the Miata. And when you're doing that, you have to use the oil pressure sensor from the Miata. This is not it. This is one from the Ford Fusion. We left it in. Ask us how we know it doesn't work. Same thing with the crank position sensor. It has a different pin out. The Miata has a 3-pin. This one has a 2-pin. So those are both out of here. You got to use the original one from the 2.0 liter motor. The other part you have to do is swap out the variable timing sensor. I don't know what it's called.
Solenoid.
Variable timing solenoid. That's Brady under there, under the car, by the way. He's the one down there making all that racket. So you use the one from the Fusion, but if you're using the Miata harness, you have to use the plug from the Fusion. So you saw where we actually soldered a new one in.
Other than that and the timing cover, it's pretty straightforward swap, pretty easy. We're just buttoning up a few last things here. Brady's under the car, putting on the cross bracing. We're gonna slap the hood on here in just a minute, and we're gonna get this thing out of the garage. You can see the garage is a mess. There are tools everywhere. I'm gonna be so glad to get this thing out of here. So one other, Brady's banging around down there. So one other important thing that you have to swap out is the dipstick, because this block is a 1/2 inch taller than the standard Miata block. You can't use the old dipstick, and because you're using the oil pan from the Miata on the 2.5 engine, you can't use the 2.5's dipstick. This dipstick is from some Mazda Skyactiv engine. I don't know which one. It was recommended in one of the forums, so definitely check out some forums and figure out which one's going to work. It's taken us nearly 9 months to get to this point, but we can finally put that hood back on. That hood was the first thing we took off when we started the job, and it sure is a relief to see it going back on. It's gone. It's out of my garage.